Hello and welcome back to another episode of the AAT's podcast with myself, Adi of Adibiotics.
And me, Aidan Riley.
Good afternoon, Aidan.
Good afternoon, Ali. Are you okay?
Yeah, not bad. A lot better. Yourself?
Yes, I'm good.
Thank God the pollen's slowly clearing its way away from it.
It is. I haven't sneezed that much today.
Not on me, please.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not outdoors, so I'm safe.
Yeah. So this is our 23rd episode. Can't believe that already.
Wow.
23rd episode. It was great concluding the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. But this movie, we have kind of postponed it for a little while, but thankfully we're doing it today. So this movie actually excuse me, it actually brought a different form of martial arts to the screen. And the actor who portrayed this actually had a massive background in martial arts. And but he actually studied acting for 5 years before becoming a movie star. He wasn't one of those things where you would take a few acting lessons or I'm ready to go out on auditions. No.
He took his time.
He took his time, which was a great thing. So the
movie
movie
paid off.
Yeah, so the movie we're talking about is called The Perfect Weapon. It was made in 1991, for those who didn't know what it was. It was a story about this young lad who struggled so much, and then his father's best friend, who he served in the military with, put him into a school where he taught him self-discipline, and it was called Kenpo. And this martial art, it's a form of karate. It involves more upper body
hand movements, more arm movements, isn't it?
Yeah, more blocks, attacks, and counter attacks.
I would say it's a defensive, wouldn't you? Defensive art.
All martial arts is defensive.
Yeah,
all martial arts. But this one, you can see a lot more of the defensive tactics that's demonstrated in there. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story as well. This involves this guy here. We were in the coffee shop that day. And I said to you, you got to watch this movie called The Perfect Weapon. And you were like, what's it about? I said, all right. Got the phone, put the trailer on for him. Even from the trailer, this guy was blown away. And he goes, all right, I have got to watch this movie. I have got to watch this movie. And you saw it. So before we go into details, what did you think of it?
Fantastic. Brilliant.
I've seen it so many times myself.
It's how brutal he is with his hand movements and how... You know, when you see a guy like that fight, the first thing you think is, I definitely will not mess with somebody like that.
No,
because I mean, just by the look of him,
he looks like an ordinary guy.
Yeah, but you can tell that he's not, right? You can tell that he's not. If you saw a guy like that, right, you'd think you just wouldn't mess with him. You just wouldn't mess with him.
You wouldn't mess with him. You wouldn't mess with him.
And then if you see him fight, you're like, I'm definitely not messing with him now. So the film was just, I really enjoyed it. It had good humour in it.
Definitely.
Good story. I can't really say
anything
much bad about it, really. I really can't. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I found myself leaning forward sometimes, going, and then suddenly, a lot of the times I was like on the edge of my seat, and then I laughed at the comedy. I was rooting for him to find that guy. I was thinking, come on, man, and the kid was awesome in that. Kid was awesome in that. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah, he had some good. His comedic timing couldn't be more perfect than it was.
Yeah.
And so the movie, like I said, the movie we're talking about is called The Perfect Weapon. It starred Kenpo karate star Jeff Speakman, and he wanted to bring something different to the screen, and he definitely did that in this movie.
He did.
And he studied martial arts for so many years, and this was his first ever movie, where he was the main star. I've got a good story where I can tell you about this as well. So what we're going to start off, as you know, with all our podcasts, and for those who are new here as well, we talk about the movie plot, we talk about the character details, we talk about the behind the scenes. But for this one, because
we're throwing trivias in there, right, left, right, centre as well, randomly.
Definitely, yeah. So what I did was we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to do a little bit behind the scenes first before we go into the character details.
Okay.
So
the floor is yours.
What a coincidence! It's our studio. Right. So obviously the plot about the movie is it's about this young man named Jeff his mother recently passes away, and he's always getting in trouble. His father's a policeman.
He's a very angry kid, isn't he?
He's a very angry kid.
Very angry.
He doesn't know how to channel all that anger.
And his dad doesn't know how to deal with him.
Yeah.
That's what he says, isn't it? I don't know how to deal with this kid. He's just always getting into trouble.
He's picking up from the police station quite often.
And it's his brother as well. His dad's worried about his brother too.
That he's going to go down the wrong...
Don't want your brother to end up like you, so stay away from him. Yeah. That broke my heart when he said that. When he said that to him, I thought, I love this film. Because how that got me. And he said, I want you to leave. I was like, damn, man.
Yeah, because he kicks that... but... Like he said, when his father's friend Kim, played by the late great Mako, who was a legendary Japanese actor, and I loved watching him in quite so many movies. Did you know Mako was actually one of the candidates to play Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid?
And you know what? I kind of seen that working out. I would have seen that working out. I mean,
but they picked the best.
Yeah, of course they did. Of course they did. Yeah. For that match, yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with
Pat Morita.
Pat Morita, yeah.
And but then again, he actually did a movie similar to that down the line called Sidekicks, which we need to review.
We'll do that.
I've got some good funny stories about that one as well.
Okay.
So this movie based on was so I say his father doesn't know how to handle him. He goes, I'll think about sending him off to military school. He goes, we were in the military, it didn't do us any good, did it? And then he goes, I know another school, and it's like 2,000 years old. It's called Kenpo. It can challenge his energy. And he goes there and he meets everybody. He's a little bit with a chip on the shoulder. And he's bettering himself as time goes by. Because one of those scenes I love, when he's doing those little roundhouse kicks, and every cut, it's a different colour belt. It's a different colour
I like
belt.
that.
Gets to the brown belt.
I like that.
And then you have the ceremony where they're presenting him the black belt. And he's like, he's become a little bit of a better person. He's got more respect for himself. He's calmer.
He's calm.
Until that guy attacks his brother.
Yep, that's when you think, that's when
the gloves
he gets
came
kicked
off.
out. That's when his dad kicks him out. But you know what, when that happens, I knew something bad was going to happen when that scene was, advancing more.
Yeah.
When his brother was being, his brother didn't help. No. His brother was being cocky, arrogant. He was back chatting that bigger guy when he knew full well the bigger guy was just after trouble. And Jeff was like, look, shut up. Just
be quiet.
Just
don't
be
say
quiet.
anything.
Keep moving. It's like, you're not going to take any crap from this guy. It's like, look, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Let's just keep moving, please. I don't want to get into trouble. Because if I start, I'll hurt him. Right?
And he knows he could hit him.
Yeah, that's why
he chose not to want to do anything. Because that's when he says that line, isn't it? That it's not worth it. And I got a good story to tell you about this. When I was watching the interviews with Jeff Speakman, I got to be honest with you, Aidan. This guy is one of the most interesting people, interesting martial artist, and interesting human beings I've ever seen in an interview. Very humble, very intelligent. The way he came across, you can tell this guy is very, very educated. And he says, when I was filming that scene with the younger actor playing the younger version of my character, Jeff, in real life his name's Jeff, and in the movie his name's Jeff as well, which is quite funny. And
that's what I laughed at a bit. It's like Jeff Speakman as Jeff
Sanders, close enough.
And
he goes that when the actor playing the American football player, when he had the helmet on, he definitely
he pounded.
He says he definitely had a chip on his shoulder. And he goes, look, you got the helmet on, do you mind if I just... And Jeff Speakman had cowboy boots on. And he goes to him that, okay, let's... he was teaching the younger version how to do the spinning jump kick. And he goes, all right, you got the helmet on, let me do it. He goes, all right, show me what you got. He let one out, cracked the helmet open. And he goes, after that guy had way more respect for the martial art of Kenpo.
Well, you're going to, aren't you?
Well, you're definitely going to.
You're not going to not respect him after that.
No chance.
God, especially when the guy's right there in front of you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk a little bit about Jeff Speakman's. So then what else happens is in this movie is basically he's obviously after that scene, his dad kicks him out of the house, and he goes, "I don't want you to come back. You're gonna end up killing somebody. You're more dangerous now than you've ever been before, and you're gonna send your brother down the wrong path. So you need to leave my house once you've gone." And
I don't blame his dad.
in a way, yeah,
his dad's a good guy. He is. In the film, you gotta admit, his dad is a good guy. He's not the kind of dad that is a. He's not like the guy from Goodfellas. He's not like that dad.
That's the same actor.
Oh, for bloody hell!
Did you not notice that?
No, I didn't.
That was the same actor, View Star, who played him. I just remembered that myself.
That's ironic.
So that's one reaction out of it.
So the dad that he plays in Goodfellas is way different to the dad he plays.
Well, because he's a police officer, isn't
he? Exactly. But he's just a really nice guy. But yeah, I think he makes kind of like the right choice to make him leave, because his brother is
gonna go
very young, and he is old enough now. Well, he's not old. He's mature enough. He can look after himself.
Yeah. And
he's got the maturity in his mind, because self-defense teaches you body and mind maturity, doesn't it? And spirituality. Yeah. So he's got all of them now. He's got all that combo. So he can look after himself. So he's made the right choice. And you could think about a few months down the line, he wouldn't want to stay there probably anyway.
No, he wouldn't.
So
and then
it was a cool thing to watch though.
Oh yeah.
When he saw him getting kicked out, it was.
And then when he goes, and Kim kind of becomes like the father figure to him. That's why he keeps in touch with him for so many years, even when he's moved away. He's become a construction worker, and he goes, I will always be with you if you ever need me. And then he finds out Kim's in a lot of trouble, and he goes back to want to help him out. And then unfortunately Kim gets killed, like right at the beginning. I'll say right at the beginning of the movie.
Well, it's kind of at the beginning, because a lot happens after that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the start of the story unfolding.
Yeah.
Because that's what opens the door for Jeff to kick everybody's backside.
Oh my goodness. It's that scene where he's beating those guys up in the shop.
It's just
mind-blowing.
Man.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
The speed of his punches and his kicks.
Those hand attacks and everything like that.
Some guy strikes him.
It's just something else.
And then somebody else goes after him, like, why are you even bothering? Just leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Go away. Leave the city. Actually, no, leave the bloody country. Just go. Yeah, if I was one of those guys, I would have gone.
I'm going home now. I'm going to go put the kettle on.
Come in
my
now.
house.
I'll see you later.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you better run.
And then like I said, Kim gets killed. Adam, the younger brother, gets on the case as well, because he's now a policeman.
It's good how they met each other back. It's good how they rekindled. Where
they did in a way, but it took him a lot.
No, I mean where he meets him again.
Yeah.
Where he goes, and because he's the cop, isn't he? And that's doing because he says, "I want to be in the investigation."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "We've got a guy that knows what happened." So he goes in and he's like, "Here's the guy," and he's like,
"That's my brother,
Jeff." So, Adam. Hey, what a coincidence.
And then he's like, let's go see Dad. And he goes, I don't want to see Dad, because he hasn't rekindled with the father. I think properly he doesn't meet the father and like talk to, he doesn't even say a word to him until they're in the hospital.
I think you can tell that the dad wants to say something. But you know what, it's kind of sad, because I know this is later on down the film, but you never hear the dad say that I'm proud of you or anything.
I think in a way he does at the end, where he chooses not to kill the main bad guy and he hands him over to the authorities.
Yeah.
And then like...
But they don't really say much to each other, do they?
I think in a way where he looks at him, that says enough without any dialogue.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, he just stands there when everyone's like, he's holding all the police back because he's now the captain.
Yeah,
he's
the top guy.
I love the way when Jeff says to Jimmy when they're scoping the warehouse out, and he goes, I'm going to wait till night. You stay at the hotel, but if you don't hear from me, get a hold of my dad, Captain Sanders. You'll be safe with him.
There you go.
There you go.
So
in that beginning scene the scene before when Adams ended up in hospital because of the car accident, and he goes to him, is he all right? He goes, yeah, he'll be fine. He goes, look, I've got to go. And then as he's walking off, he looks at him very carefully and goes, you be careful, you watch your back, son. And
it's respect's there. The respect's
there.
And the love's there.
Yeah.
It's just that the friendship isn't there. because I think, you know, and again, we'll get to this later.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we'll talk about that later.
So I want to talk about, thank you. I want to talk about Jeff Speakman's martial arts background. So I've actually combined this.
Badass, basically.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the podcast.
Bye. See you.
Tune in next week. Okay. So Jeff Speakman actually studied martial arts in 1978. He started studying Japanese Goju-ryu, which was a traditional form of Okinawan karate in the city of Missouri, where he had a friend that he thought was very interesting. He actually knew this friend for 2 years and did not know that he was a black belt in Goju-ryu under this instructor named Lou Angel. And this friend, again, never mentioned that, oh, I know martial arts, like going around announcing it. So this friend started training him at first, and then Speakman became an instructor of Lou Angel himself in 1981. He received his black belt in Goju-ryu at the age of 23. Wow. And after graduating from university, Lou Angel said to Jeff Speakman, he goes, that if you want to learn martial arts, you're better off moving out to California and study under this grandmaster called Ed Parker in the martial art of Kenpo karate. And Lou Angel and Ed Parker had a great friendship, that it was so great where Lou Angel wrote a letter of recommendation to give to Jeff Speakman to give it to Ed Parker. Because remember, back then there's no emails, there's no text messages, it was letters. Old-fashioned letters, which everybody remembers how to write those.
Well, not everyone.
Not everyone, especially this generation.
Not the new generation. No offence, but it's true.
None taken.
So don't take any offence to that.
Definitely. And so what happened was, Speakman sold most of his furniture and he sold his car to pay for the moving truck to move out to California to study under Ed Parker. And growing up, he was always into sports. He was a competitive springboard diver and a gymnast. And he had that mindset of never giving up and just giving it everything
championship
you got.
Mindset.
He had the championship mindset, definitely. Every year, Ed Parker held a tournament, Ed Parker's karate tournament. And you won't believe who one of the most famous martial artists was who used to attend there sometimes to give demonstrations. Guess.
Chuck Norris?
One of them. But
one of them?
The most famous, let's call it.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Bruce Lee and him. Ed Parker, so yeah, and so...
Wow.
Yeah, so...
That's incredible.
It is. And what happened was when Ed Parker was one of the most famous martial arts instructors, and he was really great friends with Bruce Lee, and he had a brief career in
I can't believe he was 32 years old when he passed away.
Yeah, definitely outside. And his son Brandon was, I believe, 28 to 29 when he passed away.
Yeah. And
some of Ed Parker's famous students were Chuck Norris, even Elvis Presley, the singer. Did you not know? I've got a reaction out of him. Did you not know Elvis Presley was into karate?
I had no idea.
Yeah,
man.
He was into karate. And even Benny the Jet Urquidez, who became one of the world's most famous competitive kickboxing champions. He became a full contact karate champion. Benny the Jet Urquidez actually trained Patrick Swayze for the movie Roadhouse.
You keep talking about that film.
You have to watch it.
Okay, we'll review that.
This will actually kind of make you like Patrick Swayze, and you'll forget the fact that he was that guy from Dirty Dancing.
And Ghost.
Yeah. All the lads. I think it's like I've mentioned in the previous podcast that women remembered Swayze for the movies Ghost and definitely Dirty Dancing. But all the guys remembered him mainly as Dalton from Roadhouse and Bodie from Point Break.
Oh, well, he's got best of both worlds then.
He was. And so,
an all-round actor, it sounds like, in a way.
Definitely. So what happened was, when Jeff Speakman went to the dojo, the tournament, and Ed Parker looked at him very strangely, like, who is this guy? And then he handed him the letter, and he goes to him, this is from, and he opened it with, oh, my old friend, Lou Angel. He goes, listen, all right, give me a couple of weeks, let me get all the tournaments done and everything, and then you and I will have a proper sit down, and you come to the dojo. And then they became really great friends, and like I say, yeah, he was the only one who, so basically Ed Parker was known as the father of American karate, where he decided to add science and physics to karate as well. compared to like obviously the traditional karate that you would see.
Yes.
And he was the only one who decided to do that, to add tradition, science and physics to traditional techniques and forms. And but to Jeff Speakman, he said Ed Parker's mind was so advanced that he considered him the Einstein of martial arts.
Wow, that is a huge accolade. That's a huge compliment to pay somebody.
Definitely. And he says and then he said one of Ed Parker's wishes was over time that his students, particularly his black belts, would involve his martial arts to meet with current times. And one of his most famous quotes was, before he passed away, he goes, "When I'm gone, I hope nobody traditionalizes my art." Because he wanted to keep it up with current times and everything. He wanted it to like match what people wanted to learn at that time. Because if you look at it now, so if you look at it back then, there were people who just wanted to learn karate. Or then you go to another school to learn judo. You go to another school to learn kung fu. You go to another school to learn taekwondo, anything, kung fu, jiu-jitsu even. And yes, we mentioned jiu-jitsu. And certain black belts have never evolved the art of Kenpo, who are Ed Parker students, but Jeff Speakman, who decided to create something called Kenpo 5.0, which is the fifth evolution of Kenpo karate, which involves ground fighting and grappling. And because he says Kenpo 4.0 is like the brown belt's version of it's the brown belt version of karate. That's like trying to fight a drunk in a bar, whereas Kenpo 5.0 is like trying to fight a drunk MMA guy in the bar, which involved I'm getting the most reactions out of Aiden today, and which involved a lot of like I said, groundwork. And I saw some of the videos, and he says like in everything, like take the fight to the ground, end it before it begins. And Speakman, here's another thing, actually studied jiu-jitsu for 4 years. He studied jiu-jitsu for 4 years to understand where people will be vulnerable, like attacking the groin, attacking the throat. Jiu-jitsu and MMA are sports which are governed by rules, if you've noticed that.
Yes.
Whereas Kenpo is not governed by rules, it's an art. It's not he actually said, one thing I was watching in this interview he said, this is quoting Jeff Speakman, he said, MMA should not be called MMA. What does MMA stand for?
Mixed martial arts.
Yeah. He goes, it should actually be called mixed martial sports. Mass. I think in a way, because he's been in martial arts for over 30 years. He holds black belts in Kenpo, Goju-Ryu. He has schools all over the place. I think he's well trained in weaponry, as you saw in the movie. And
yeah, big time.
I mean, one thing I loved about that movie was there was no CGIs, there was no wire work, there was no stunt doubles. You could tell he did all that work himself. You can tell that.
He was only 32 when that came out.
Really? So you got my reactions out of it as well. Okay. So Ed Parker passed away in 1990 at the age of 59 due to a heart attack. And he actually passed away just before Perfect Weapon came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he said that. So basically, like Speakman, he goes, this is kind of, the reason why I created 5.0 is kind of similar to how the Gracies created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like the main heads of the family at that time went to Japan to learn Jiu-Jitsu and then decided to put their own touch to it. And that's why it became Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I've interviewed people myself who are masters in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you've seen them on chat over coffee and everything like that. But Ed Parker, that quote, what he said was absolutely amazing. When I'm gone, I hope nobody traditionalizes my art.
Yeah, hopefully nobody has.
No, what he means, he wanted people he wanted people to evolve it, like bring in the ground game, bring in the grappling, bring on the chokes, the everything, what you've got. Make this more advanced. Evolve it into what...
And that's what Speakman did.
And he's done a great job. People have been going to his studios in the US to want to learn from this guy. But I'd just like to say myself, Sensei Parker, may you rest in peace, and thank you so much for bringing Kenpo and bringing one of the greatest martial artists who had ever lived. Thank you. I was bowing to one of the senseis I interviewed recently through Skype, and you'll see the interview pretty soon as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Us is like, it's a term of respect when you're bowing to somebody in karate. So like when you bow to them, it's like us.
Before you kick their backsides.
No, it's after.
Oh, okay. Like a show of appreciation.
Yeah. But like I say, martial arts is more than just. It's not about beating the snot out of somebody. It's about knowing that you can do something.
Yeah.
But the fact that you choose to kind of walk away from it. It's like in that scene where Jeff is trying to chase that guy, and these two guys turn up. One turns up with a knife, and he goes, "Give me all your money." And then behind him there's another one. He's like, he's doing the right thing. I'm going to walk away. He knows he can hurt these guys, but he chooses not to do it. And then when you see, and then he takes them out in less than 10 seconds.
I know. That's when that happened. I was like, "Oh, yep, that's done." But you could tell that he didn't want to.
Yeah, definitely.
He just wasn't in the mood. Just wasn't in the mood for any confrontations.
No,
he was just like, "Just leave me alone." Okay, you asked for it. Bang, done.
Bam, bam, boom. And okay, so how Jeff Speakman got into the movie business is one of the most interesting stories ever. And you're going to like this as well. So when Speakman was teaching in California, one of his students who kept bringing their kids to be taught by him was paying very close attention to how he was teaching the class and approached him and said to him, "You need to take what you are doing and go and study some acting." And Speakman never thought of himself as an actor. He didn't think much of himself at all. He just goes, but this person he gave him a business card to say, "Look, there are a few friends of mine who run an acting school. Just go and watch it. You don't need to participate in the class. Just go and watch it and give the school a visit." So he went and studied. He actually studied, like I said, he studied acting for 5 years because he had a degree in behavioral psychology. So he visited the acting school, and the very first night he realized that yes, he wanted to get into the movie business. And the first 2 years, all he wanted to do was get his skills up to a level and then go out on auditions. Because as I mentioned earlier, whereas most actors go out after 5 lessons, okay, I'm ready to go on auditions. And then he goes, but he didn't want to embarrass himself in front of, but he gives that advice to...
He kind of showed respect for the art.
He does.
I'm ready now, this is easy.
Yeah, it's like he showed respect to Kenpo itself. He showed respect to Jiu-Jitsu. He showed respect to Goju-Ryu. He showed to acting itself in the film business. Nobody had anything bad to say. Even Steven Seagal said the same thing to me. He looks like a good kid, this guy. Because he was quite young at the time. And he goes, that's what he said. He goes, the advice he gives to young actors is basically, make sure your skills are sharpened before you go out on auditions. And he goes, because the joke in Hollywood, so the joke in California and LA is, when you approach somebody and they says, "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm an actor." "Okay, what restaurant do you work at?" That's what everybody says. What restaurant do you work at? Because obviously they need to
make ends meet.
They need to make ends meet, don't they? They got bills to pay, rent to pay, food to buy. If not, they're out on the street. And he didn't let anybody know that he knew martial arts. Just like that friend of his taught him back in Missouri. He goes, he didn't show anybody that he knew martial arts. He wanted to prove himself as an actor and show himself as a martial artist second, not a martial artist who's trying to act.
Because the thing is with martial artists, when people will just go, "Okay, you're good at fighting, we can use you," but there won't be much acting involved.
Yeah.
But he wanted to show his acting skills first, and then show that because he would have just seen that as a kind of like a failure, like, "Oh yeah, they just want me for my fighting skills.
They don't want to see
they don't want to see my acting skills."
Yeah.
And then
it's true. So what do you want to say?
No, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Because he won't be given much opportunities if it's just fighting films, just action films all the time. Action.
It's like Arnold. I know we've mentioned that, but if you look at Arnold, his acting, I would say, is quite limited.
It is.
It's limited. It's like with and it's like. I know we've mentioned these two guys countless times, Arnold and Stallone, because if you look at it, between the two of them, Stallone can definitely act.
Stallone. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stallone is 10 times better an actor than Arnold Schwarzenegger is, because if you look at Stallone, Rocky, Rambo. You've got it's Tango and Cash.
Cobra.
Cobra. It's just he's very, very. He's multi-talented in the acting world, and he's also a writer and director.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, he's skilled in many forms.
Exactly. So yes, I mean the man's he's a machine.
He's a machine.
He's still going.
He is. So what happened was when he so Jeff Speakman, when he went to visit the schools and everything, and he like I said, he studied acting for 5 years, and obviously because he wanted to understand more behavioural psychology, because acting is a form of behavioural psychology, isn't it? It is. Because you have to like get into the mindset of what another person may or may not be thinking.
Yes.
And you have to kind of like shred your own identity in order to take on what you're about to become.
Exactly.
Again, that form of method acting.
Yes.
And so what happened was that same weekend, Jean-Claude Van Damme's first movie came out, which was, you can guess? Bloodsport, yeah. So he went to the cinema by himself to observe the martial arts movie and understand what he can bring to the screen himself. So he said to himself, all right, I'll watch this movie with a different mindset. Because again, behavioral psychology kicked into play. And he goes, when he saw how Van Damme was performing the certain movements, such as the block, kick, punch techniques, and he saw what kind of skills he was bringing that got him that role. And he goes, all right, and his exact words, what he said to himself on screen. So after watching this movie, he goes, if people actually like this, then wait until they see Kenpo.
Yep.
And he goes, he wanted to bring a real martial art to the screen, where he thought Van Damme's skills were very limited. He goes, he was a good athlete and everything, which is true. He was a karate champion himself at the time. Did you not know that?
No, didn't know that.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme was a...
but it's not surprising.
Not surprised either. And he was a karate champion and a bodybuilding champion as well. Plus he studied classical ballet for 5 years, hence why
that is a mixture of brilliant things there.
Yeah, strength, speed and agility all in one.
Flexibility, strength and endurance.
Yeah.
That's all three, man. That's fantastic. That's what the body needs.
Yeah, definitely. And he goes, so I wanted to bring a real martial art on the screen, because as I mentioned previously, he goes, Van Damme's skills were very limited, but his acting was even limited as well. Because if you look at it in the movie Bloodsport, as we reviewed it, there's not much requirement for him to do acting. He's more focusing on him as a fighter, as a martial artist.
And his looks.
And yeah, he was a good-looking lad.
Yeah, so and he didn't really need to...
He didn't need to do
didn't show much acting in that film. The emotions were kind of like,
middle level.
Yeah,
middle level. And he goes, what he saw on screen looked more like a sport and not a martial art, as I mentioned previously. He goes, Van Damme, his movies, it should have been, what he's doing is kickboxing. It's more of a sport, whereas Kenpo is more of an art, as you can see it, the way those techniques are coming through. And he goes, he actually, here's something will shock Aidan again. How many reactions have we had? 5 so far?
About 5, yeah.
Well, here comes number 6. Jeff Speakman was actually appeared in one of Van Damme's movies called Lionheart. Well, in England it's called AWOL, where you could briefly hear his voice and you see the side of him. I was watching this movie myself a few times, and it says Jeff Speakman. I didn't see Jeff Speakman in the movie, and at the end he's right there. He's only got a walkie-talkie, but he demonstrates no martial arts in it whatsoever.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't give much.
No,
he's a bit pot player in that. He just shows up, doesn't he? And then that's it. It's a cameo role, isn't it?
I wouldn't even call it a cameo. Just early appearance. I would call it early appearance. Yeah. Now, this is a great, interesting story. Like I said, I watched this interview quite a few times. I was watching it again last night before I could do this. And like I said, this was one of the best interviews I had ever seen. So I am quoting Jeff Speakman here.
Okay.
And one way how Speakman got into the film business was he was reading for actors off camera, so he can understand what casting directors, producers, writers and directors are actually looking for in an actor. It's like, for example, the camera's on you right now. I'm off screen. I'm reading the script. I'm reading the script, but I'm also watching the other people, what they're looking for. And be like, okay, this is what they're looking for. If they got too many frowns on their faces, all right, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead. Play it this way. Maybe they might like it a little bit more.
Bit of your psychology.
Yeah, there you go. His degree in psychology kicked in. And one director who was actually working with Van Damme directed Van Damme's second movie, Kickboxer. And that's how he got to know him, this producer named Mark Dessel. And Mark Dessel actually directed, I believe he directed this movie as well. And Speakman demonstrated his martial arts and went and spoke to Paramount. And he said to him, look, you guys, you need to come and see this martial art called Kenpo. And he goes, well, just come down to the dojo and see what... he didn't mention that he knew martial arts. He just said, well, yeah, I'm an actor, but I know martial arts. He goes, all right, let's see what you can do. I'm going to come down to the dojo. So Dessel went down to the dojo. He looked at him and he was blown away. He goes, that's it. I was, what do you mean? That's it. Let's go. Went back to Paramount and said to him, again, you need to come and see this martial art called Kenpo because this is the next generation where to go. This martial artist is everything Van Damme isn't, and he can act as well. He said that, and he signed a four picture deal with Paramount, and one of the movies turned out to be The Perfect Weapon.
Yep. And
it's like the same way how Steven Seagal said a few years earlier, when they were saying to him, remember when we did Above the Law?
Yep.
They said to him, we want you to do a Kung Fu movie. And he goes, I don't want to do a Kung Fu movie. There's over 5,000 Kung Fu movies out there. I want to show the world Aikido because nobody has seen that before. Speakman did the same thing. Smart move on both men's behalf.
Of course.
Like, who hasn't seen karate? Chuck Norris has demonstrated it. Who hasn't seen Jeet Kune Do? Bruce Lee, may he rest in peace, demonstrated it. Who hadn't seen kickboxing and boxing? Van Damme showed it. He did. And, who added comedy to martial arts? Jackie Chan.
Yes. Drunken boxing.
Yeah, and who showed wushu? Jet Li. So he said the same thing. I want to bring a different martial art.
Have you seen Jet Li's film Unleashed?
Yes, brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant movie.
Wow.
We're talking about that as well.
We will.
We're definitely talking about
Great film.
Oh yeah, definitely. Great acting by him in that as well. And look who he's teamed up with. Morgan Freeman and the late great Bob Hoskins. So again, he said, I want to bring a real martial art to the screen. And it worked.
People fell in love with it.
I fell in love with that. I fell in love with it easy. I mean, I've seen this movie so many times. Do you remember when we used to have the old big VHS cassette tapes? Yeah, they were about that big. And you had to show it in, and you had to put the sellotape over the recording thing. Okay, this is going to record. And obviously, technology has evolved over time and everything, where you could just set a time and record it yourself.
The big ass VHS cassettes. Oh gosh, remember the TV video combo?
Oh yeah.
When they first came out, it was
crazy, cuckoo crazy.
Oh dear, we've come a long way with these years, haven't we? Wow.
Oh, most definitely. So
I'm glad I had those years. So.
Oh yeah, same here. So okay, moving on to how The Perfect Weapon was made. So at the beginning of the movie, when you see Jeff performing that kata, do you know what kata is?
Yes.
It's visualizing martial arts movements. It's like when he's doing all that training.
Yeah, it's all the arm movements.
Yeah.
It's an exam.
It's muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle memory.
You also
exercise.
do that as an exam to get to the next stage.
Yeah, you do. And so what happened was at the beginning of the movie, he's performing the kata, which is a form of two forms of Kenpo. One is for the brown belts, the second form is for black belts. But in between, he stopped and threw a little form of Goju-ryu in it. You know why? Because he knew at that time Lou Angel would be sitting in the movie theatre watching this movie, and he did it as a sign of respect to him. He did that all for Lou Angel because Lou Angel, remember, as I mentioned, that Lou Angel gave him that letter of recommendation to say...
If it wasn't for him...
Yeah, definitely. Which is an interesting concept because if you look at it, if you open up a martial arts movie with a form of kata, you're in for a real martial arts movie. You're not in for a underground tournament style type movie.
No.
Yeah. And like I said, Mark Dessel, who was the director of the movie, and as mentioned, he directed Van Damme's second movie, Kickboxer. he didn't know martial arts himself, but he understood the essence and spirit of martial arts, and he handed all the choreography to Jeff Speakman, who choreographed all the fight scenes in this movie.
He did that.
He did that. You can tell.
Yes.
In a way, I think once you watch the movie 2-3 times, you can say, that guy's done all this himself. It's like, I think in a way, they did the same thing with Steven Seagal when he did Above the Law. They handed him all the, he choreographed all the fight scenes for that movie. He picked out all the weapons he wanted to use in this movie as well.
He's the expert.
Well, he wasn't, yeah, you could tell. And a 6'4" Aikido master with a cool ass ponytail. Well, he didn't have a ponytail in that movie, but he did.
Oh man, I think those two, right?
What movie did you prefer better, Perfect Weapon or Above the Law?
Perfect Weapon.
Yeah,
hands down. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Perfect Weapon was okay.
You mean Above the Law?
Yeah, Above the Law was okay, but Above the Law was amazing. Oh man,
Perfect Weapon. Yeah, Perfect Weapon.
It was just.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, and also, with a company such as big as Paramount Pictures, they would never let an actor in the editing process. They handed all the editing process to Speakman to know how the fights were going to play out, how all the fight scenes would be playing out, like what sound effect can you use, what reaction the other person is going to take. And they said that the studio wanted to bring a big level of authenticity to the table. So what they did was, when it came to the promotional aspects, they invested time and money into hiring people to train Jeff Speakman on how to do public speaking. Because
it showed you how much they actually adored this guy.
Exactly, because he looked like a good guy. And like I said, if you watch his interviews, watch his demonstrations, you'll like him as well as a person.
Oh yeah, I like him anyway because I just have to look at him and I'm thinking this guy is very genuine. You could just tell by the way he is. I mean, I know he's acting and everything. I know it's a film, but sometimes when you see a person in a film, you know that they got the potential to be a nice person in real life. I mean, he's that person. Just don't get on the wrong side of him.
Yeah,
because
knife chop you to the face.
You probably won't wake up.
knife chop you to the face, like the knife hand you to the face. And then so Arthur Cohen, who was in charge of the public relations, said the best money we ever invested was teaching Jeff Speakman how to do public speaking, which sold the movie.
Of course it did. He's the main guy in it.
Yeah. He went to 33 cities in 30 days in the US to help with the promotions. Also, as mentioned, with having the degree in behavioral psychology and understanding human behavior, Speakman said it was very easy for him to follow and he'll carry the skill set for the rest of his life.
And he does.
Yeah, he does.
Well, there you go. Mr. Speakman.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for that.
A bow of salute to him as well.
Us.
Okay, there you go, right. Congratulations. Okay, so what did you think of all that, the story?
I am not surprised because if I was a producer or if I was an executive at a film production company and I had a guy like him, I did get enough sleep, by the way.
I didn't say anything.
And I had a guy like him
in
one of my films, I will not think twice in actually saying to the producers on the set, give this guy every opportunity that we can give him.
Yeah.
Because he's not only got the face, the charm, he's got the charisma. He's got the voice.
Yeah.
He's got the charisma. He's got the ability. He's just got all the attributes that you need to promote something.
Definitely.
And he's like I said, he's a nice guy. He's a genuine nice guy. And plus he's, behavioral psychology is a very, very deep, in-depth subject. So he knows how to talk to people. You speak how you want to be spoken to, right?
He knows how to understand people
exactly.
as
So,
well. And he's got that great mindset.
Exactly. And so I would be thinking, okay, this guy's done everything he can.
Yeah.
I respect him to that. Nowadays, right, when I look at things nowadays, I look at the music industry.
Yeah.
Or the film industry, put both together.
Yeah.
A lot of them are good looking, but they've got hardly any talent. because
limited talent.
Because of their looks. Everything's about looks and everything. Right?
It is.
So that's, it's always been like that, but I think it's a lot worse now because of social media. I think has really, really risen the materialism and the way people look.
Yeah,
if you look good, you're going to get 10 million likes. If you don't look good, but you are great at what you do, you get about 2,000 likes, which don't make sense.
Yeah, it's like the more silliness you behave,
yeah,
the more followers you're going to get.
Exactly.
But the more serious you are,
the less followers.
Nobody wants to know that because everything's a joke nowadays.
That's the thing. So with Jeff and today's stars, a lot of today's stars just revolve on their looks.
Yeah.
And they just go, oh yeah, these people are going to love him. Their acting's okay, but their looks, he's a brilliant looking guy. He's going to get us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or she's a great looking girl. Just put her in great clothes and she's still going to get a lot of money.
Or put her in very limited clothing.
Exactly, right? Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he's brilliant at acting.
He was, definitely.
Right. Good looking lad.
Good physique on him as well.
Good physique, yes. And he knows what he's talking about. He knows the skills that he's showing on screen.
Yeah.
And he's a genuine guy.
He's the real deal.
He's an honest guy.
He was the real deal, is what. Yeah, he was the real deal, and
which is very rare nowadays. It's very rare you get that.
It's nowadays. Like finding a needle in a haystack.
He had to work for it. He worked for it to where he got to, right? If he didn't have to do that much work, but like you said, he showed his acting skills first, and then he showed them his martial arts. Right? If he would have showed his martial arts first, they would have gone, oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, give him the job. But he showed his acting skills first.
Definitely.
So he worked for it. He didn't still, I'm a good-looking guy, I know martial arts, give me a job. Yeah, sure, here you go, here's the money. But first he was like, here's my acting skills. I'm a good-looking guy, but here's my acting skills, and here's my martial arts skills.
Yeah, like I say, he wanted to prove himself as an actor first. He didn't want people to prove himself.
He didn't want to be eye candy. He didn't just want to be some eye candy guy with martial arts skills. He wanted the acting, work ethic behind it.
It was like, like when you look at Van Damme in the movie Bloodsport, he's...
How many times do you see him without a shirt on?
Yeah,
or it's just his underwear. You think, fair enough, but...
Where's the acting?
It's not really acting, isn't it?
It's like that scene, as you mentioned now. It's like that, but going back to the movie Bloodsport, where you see him, where he's screaming. In a way, like, he's like gone blind. He's like, oh, like that. It's like, you can tell that was limited acting. It's like, just lose your mind. Probably one of the directors just said to him, lose your mind a little bit here. That was it. But whereas if you look at Speakman in that scene where Kim's been killed and he's hitting the wall, that to me was real acting, because if you look at it, he's just lost the only thing that he had to a father.
Yeah.
And because if you look at it, you take that away from somebody, you don't know what that person is going to be capable of.
Course.
And he demonstrated that.
Well, when he was chasing the guy in the car.
Yeah, that guy was, he
was that big dude. I mean, that guy was huge.
Do you remember him?
Sub-Zero.
Yeah. Well, I've got an interesting story to tell you about him.
Wasn't he Running Man as well?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. It was also.
And what was quite funny was Jeff Speakman, when he trained with this guy, he said that.
I loved that fight between those two. That was just.
Oh, it was brutal.
Gosh,
that was like
man.
Brute strength against agility and speed.
Yes.
And then if you look at him,
unstoppable force versus immovable object.
Yeah. And he was an immovable object. It's like that scene in the car.
I ain't trying to move him.
He was a pro wrestler in real life.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised.
The size of that dude.
Speakman said that this guy, Professor Tofu, I think his name was, and he goes, he was such a nice man to work with, but he was strong as steel.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, look at the guy.
He was a behemoth, wasn't
he? you know the end, right? Where the car, where the police are after him, and his car tips over, and he gets out and he's like, "Stay back, put your hands on your head."
And they got the taser.
Yeah, it's like, and he just keeps walking up to them, and he gets so close, and he's like, "Don't let him go." And you think, "Oh my God, he's just took 2 police officers out." He's not even scared.
Yeah.
And then they taser him once, because when Adam says, "I'll tase you," I'm thinking, "Oh man, he's gonna get hold of Adam."
Yeah.
And then Adam's not really the strongest dude, is he?
Well, he's not, is he? He's still quite aggressive.
Yeah, but he's not strong, is he? He's not a strong guy. And he was just like, and then he tased him again, and then he drops. You think, oh, thank God, I thought he was going to get hold of him, because he would have broke him in half.
You probably would have.
Yeah, one headbutt from him that he shows like that headbutt is his signature move. So he puts that flower in his top pocket, doesn't he?
That's a sign of
you're dead, basically.
Yeah, that was definitely the sign of one of the, like, you know, this is what's going to happen through.
The first time you see him is when the people that failed the hit, are in the factory, in the warehouse, and they both get up and run out.
Yeah.
But he stops one of them and cracks him in his head, and you just see the dent in his forehead, and he lays the flower on his chest. And you think, oh my God, this guy.
Yeah, Professor Tanaka, that was his name. Funny thing, in that his movie's named Tanaka, and this his name's Tanaka as well.
Yeah, how convenient.
How convenient. Same with Jeff anyway. And,
how convenient.
Yes, that's true. And so what happened was, what happened was when he got into the, so going on to character details now. So Jeff, obviously we'll start with him. He was basically, like I said, he's a good lad. He's gone down, he's just lost his mother. And he kind of finds himself in this, he finds himself with this new student. He needs to go down the right path. He could have gone down the worst path.
Oh yeah,
if he hadn't.
Without a leash on him, he would have just gone out and just caused a lot of chaos, man.
That's true.
Anger and those kind of skills don't really go well together, do they?
No, they don't. They definitely don't. But then he kind of betters himself as he's gotten older, isn't he? He's living by himself. He's got nobody to rely on but himself and his skills. And
survivor.
Yeah, he's a survivor. And then he goes back. He wants to make peace with his past. He's gone back to face his past in this movie, hasn't he? And then what happens is he goes back to...
He phones Kim up as well.
Yeah, and he realises he's in trouble. Because he realised himself down the line, I was in trouble.
Yeah, because the Korean mafia visit him while he's talking to him on the phone.
Yeah.
And that's why he goes down. That's why he goes back. Because he feels something's not right here. I need to go back and see this guy who helped me become the man I am today.
Yeah.
So he goes back and he realises that Kim is in a bit of trouble. Kim tells him to stay out of it. He tells him to stay out of it. I don't want you nothing to do with this. I can deal with these guys.
Definitely. And going on to Adam. Adam's like by the book police officer as he gets older. And again, he's a bit like Jeff in the beginning when you see him when he's getting slapped across the face by that big hefty football player, and he's had his nose broken or something. And then even when Jeff says to his dad, the guy hit Adam, because you see, that's not an excuse. You're out of control. Get out. You know, he wants.
I don't want you anywhere near Adam.
Yeah.
Because he looks up to you.
Because he wants to be like you.
And because he wants to be like you, I'm afraid he'll turn out like you. So basically, get out my house before you turn my youngest son into a loose cannon.
Like yourself.
Yeah. It's like you're dangerous, more dangerous than you ever was, and I don't want him to be any part of that. Which again, you can't blame him. You can't blame his dad.
No, in a way you can't, because he's just trying to look out for him. Because I failed with this one, I can't fail with the other one. Yeah, twice the failure.
Exactly.
And so like he's just trying to do what he thinks is right. So even at the scene where there's Kim's funeral, Kim's looking at him thinking, all right, the father's looking at him like, should I approach him and meet him? They're both thinking that, should we approach each other? They don't approach each other until later on down the movie, where you can kind of see the fact that, look, something that they both cared about was Adam.
Yes.
He did. Jeff, I believe, truly cared about Adam.
Of course he did.
Because he stood up for him when that guy attacked him.
Yeah.
He had no choice. But in a way, he did kind of lose himself. You see that scene where Jeff's knocked the guy out, and then you see the football coach going, call an ambulance. Do you know who that football coach was? The director himself.
Oh, really?
Got another reaction.
Oh.
And Mark Russell actually appears in that movie. And what happened? And then he saw that, and he just says, then that scene where he's like shaking his head like, I can't believe I just did this. I can't believe I did that. He's realised that, I'm out of control. He thought he had it under control, but he didn't. It's like that. One of the best lines his dad says to him in that movie goes, "I sent you to Kenpo school to control your temper, and this is what you've learned. You haven't changed. The only thing different now is you're dangerous.
Yeah, you're more dangerous than you ever was before."
Yeah, and he wants to get Adam far away from that because Adam's going to go down that same path. All right, moving on to.
I've got one for you.
Go for it.
Do you know a sequel was actually planned for the film?
Yeah.
But a change of regime, Paramount meant it never came to be, which didn't need a sequel.
I think what could he have done in a sequel?
Nothing. What can he do?
He's done everything.
He's took back. He's got revenge.
Yeah.
He did his promise. That he's gonna get revenge for Kim.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you can do.
No,
I'm gonna go on and kick every criminal's ass. I mean, it's just boring. It's just It's just a mercenary.
It's like So going on to Kim, I like the way Kim says to him. Like even when he says to him, "I can stick around and help you out for a little while," and he's like, "No, forget it. You're an outsider. They might think I hired you for protection." And then he's like, "Just leave it. I'll go and talk to them tomorrow." Tomorrow comes, Kim never makes it. I love the fact that when Kim's that scene was great where him and Kim are sitting down having a conversation and they're talking to each other and they see young Jimmy, who's like,
does he remind you of someone? And he's like,
do I really have that much of a bad attitude?
Like,
well, you don't anymore. And he's looking at him like, that's really funny. And then they both burst out laughing, which is kind of.
I liked that part.
That was a great scene. You could tell there that was good acting of both those actors.
Yeah.
I think in a way Mako, because he'd been in the business a lot longer than Jeff Speakman was, I think he kind of took him under his wing a little bit. You can tell they had a great relationship off camera, and they brought it onto camera, which is even better.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have it off screen,
chemistry's bad. Chemistry would be bad. They're not going to want to work together much.
It's like when you read these stories about actors, how they look like they're good mates on camera, but off screen they hate each other's guts. That's one of the worst things you can do. That makes the whole sex completely toxic. It's just filled with too much egotism.
Which you do not want.
Because it's
like with any workplace, you go to work and earn your way, and then go home and you're back to the way you was.
Yeah.
But when you go to work and you hate going to work, I've been there.
Oh, we all have.
Can't stand it. I don't want to be there, but you've got to go because it's work. You've got to earn your way, but because I don't know how actors feel, man. If they are working with somebody who they have to see every single day, but they have to,
pretend to get on with
on screen because it's on screen. Oh, no.
You have to be a really great actor to pull that off.
Yeah, because in your head it's like, I want to kill this guy, but I can't.
You're probably like this, like on camera. Action, hey, how you doing? Cut, oh, get that out of my face right now.
And cut.
What's even worse is when you're having a fight with the director. That's even worse.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because he's in charge. He'll move your ass, man.
Of course he would.
Go on, move. Like,
yeah.
I hate you. What did you say? Nothing.
Yeah, and then so like Kim in a way where Kim kind of takes Jimmy under his wing as well. He kind of like, he looks at him as the son he never had. Same thing with Jeff, the son I never had. And when he's like saying to him as well, Jimmy's a good boy, he helps out, I let him stay here when he needs a place. And which is good. And he's like, when he goes, are you going to be all right? He goes, yeah, we'll be fine, thank you. Me and Jeff got a lot to catch up on. And it's true, they do have a lot to catch up on, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And I love that one line Kim says to Jeff. He goes, Jeff, it's never too late for you to come home. He goes, yeah, I know.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And then that scene,
he doesn't seem interested to start with, but after all that happens, right? He does. After all that happens,
I think in the end he came back home permanently. Yeah. If you look at it through the whole film, he's unshaven. And then at the end, when he goes back,
it's like a right rough guy.
But that's what that pulled it off.
Yeah,
it pulled it off. And then when you see him going back to meet his master Lowe, and he's bowing towards it, he's very neat and trim,
business-like. He's just he's got everything that he needs to have, and he walks in, he sees his master,
and sees the girl who he trained with as a kid.
He'll get it on with her. The way she looks at him, and he looks at her, you think, yeah, those two have had liked each other for a long time
since they were kids,
but just wasn't the right time.
Because that scene was quite good. When they're passing down the hits in the school, and she hits him.
She hits him right in the sea, like,
and then he, because that's his first class, I believe.
It was.
And then the Master Lowe's like, Jennifer. He's like this. He looks at him. He's looking at the girl. Like, I'm quite attracted to her already. And then Master Lowe's looking at him, thinking, "Yeah, you've got potential, kid. Yeah. You've got potential."
You can see that. You can see that Master Lowe can see that he's got the potential. And you know when he passes him the belt.
Yeah.
And the way they look at each other, and you think,
I like that. That was one of the best scenes ever because it said so much with no dialogue.
Yeah.
I loved it.
You need that in films sometimes, that silence.
First time I ever saw that was in the movie Rocky. There's a scene where when Mickey's gone to his apartment and he says, "I want to be your manager." And he's like, "You didn't want to be my manager 10 years ago. I needed your help. You didn't." When he goes into the bathroom and Mickey's about to leave the door, leave the apartment. And he goes to him.
I love that part.
Yeah, and then he realizes, "Oh, I left my hat inside." He goes inside. Well, he opens the door, he closes it. Rocky comes out looking at him, like, "Oh, you still here?" Goes back into the bathroom. And Mickey looks at him very calmly, like, "Oh, I got it now. You want nothing to do with me." Done. And, okay, so moving on to Tanaka. What a beast. What a beast of a character he was.
He's
Professor Tanaka.
He's a tank.
He was more, Tanaka. He was something else. That was actually the second movie he did with Mako. First one he did, the star was Chuck Norris, called An Eye for an Eye. So you have Tanaka fighting Chuck Norris in this movie, which it was quite a good movie. But it was one of the movies where Chuck Norris doesn't have the legendary beard. I was like, "No, Chuck, put the beard back on. You look better with the beard."
I don't want to see that, Chuck. I want to see the beard.
Because that's what he's famous for. Seagal's famous for a ponytail.
He's famous for the beard.
The beard. And all the famous one-lines, like, there's those famous quotes where he says, Chuck Norris, when he does a push-up, he's not pushing himself up, he's pushing the earth down. Which is quite funny. Got the reaction happened. Okay, so going on to some behind-the-scenes thing. Because remember, as I mentioned, Jeff Speakman signed a multi-picture deal with Paramount. And one of them was actually a sequel, as you mentioned as well. And the other one was going to be another script where it was about a policeman fighting a terrorist. And after that deal fell through with Paramount, guess what that movie went on to becoming? The movie Speed, that starred Keanu Reeves.
Oh.
They wanted to do, as I mentioned, I was watching this interview with him. And it said that they wanted to do this movie where it was basically that it was going to be again set on the bus, and he had to do all these tasks. He had to stop every few moments, fight this person, get back on the bus, go to the next one, and solve another crime, solve another crime. I think that would have been an interesting thing to watch.
Yes.
A Kenpo karate version of Speed.
Yes.
That would have been awesome.
It would have been because, but obviously, like you just said, that reason why it didn't happen. But I think it would have made a great mix with Kenpo and the storyline of Speed put together. Because Speed was good.
Oh, it's a great movie. Speed. I love it. It's Keanu Reeves. What do you expect?
Didn't need a second one though.
Even though I'm still watching, I watched the first 20 minutes of it and I turned it off. I was like, if it's got no Keanu Reeves, it's not going to be any good. Because that's one thing I used to hate about sequels like that, where it was like, if it hasn't got the same actor who made that movie what it was in the first place, why bother watching the sequel?
Well, no, that's the thing. When you've got a star like him, and I mean, again, it's Keanu Reeves. When you've got somebody like him and people, let's admit,
everyone likes him.
Let's admit, right? Keanu Reeves, everybody goes, because he's a genuine guy.
He's nice.
Nice guy. He's a nice guy. And it's like, hey, it's Keanu Reeves. I'm going to go watch it. But he's not in the second one, is he?
No.
Is Sandra Bullock in it?
She is. And believe it or not, this is going to make everybody laugh. She says, as soon as the cameras came on, she knew that this movie was never going to work out. She goes, it was one of the worst career decisions she had ever made. Because she's the only actor coming back from the first one into the second one. The reason why Reeves turned it down was because he went on tour with his band.
Wow.
And then, apparently, I think in a way he read the script and said, I don't want to do it. And also, here's a couple of other good things about Perfect Weapon, Aiden, which was the American Kenpo founder, Ed Parker, as I mentioned, he was Jeff Speakman's instructor. he auditioned to play Master Lo. But obviously he was falling sick at the time. And also, the black belt that Master Lo wears was actually Ed Parker's first degree black belt in real life. So he wore it as a term of respect to him. Because if you look at the end, he says this movie is dedicated to Ed Parker and the spirit of Kenpo.
Yes, you're right. Yes, it does say
all that was dedicated to him, which was really good. So, going on favourite scenes. What was your favourite?
My favourite scene. I liked the scene where he first shows his fight skills, where he goes back home
in the shop,
goes to Kim, and he just turns up, smashes the window.
Yeah, that's when that guy goes, "You're going to work with us, old man, right?" And then you see the guy flying out the window.
What the hell? He just smashes them, drags his feet like.
We're into. Then he walks in. Is there a problem here?
Yes. You're like, there he is. What do we got a problem there?
And then when he's going like that, yeah. I guess so. And then he's like hitting the guy's leg and everything.
Just absolutely annihilates them all, and then they run off. You think, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's true. that was a great scene. As I mentioned, the other shot, the guy pulls the gun out and he just throws that metal bar, hits him right in the face.
Yes.
That was a good shot.
Another favourite scene of mine is where he goes to the dojo.
And fights the three guys.
He fights three of them.
Oh yeah, that was my favourite scene. Did you know it took him 2 weeks to film that scene? 8 hours a day was nothing but fight scenes. Because they had to do, the scene where he's doing the knife hands to the guy's face. And you see it was filmed from like so many different angles because they had to get all the shots in one go, didn't they? And he said the scene, after he's beat the first guy, and then one of them kicks him in the back and the other one hits him in the face and he falls on the ground, and one of them stomps on him. He actually really got hit. He was bruised on his back quite bad.
Jesus.
And then you see him picking him up and everything, and then they're like hitting him and all that. Because if you notice, Jeff doesn't do that many kicks in this movie.
No, it's all hand movements.
Yeah, because like I said, he wanted to show something different. I think he was believing the fact that if this movie had more kicks, people are going to just compare him to Van Damme.
Yeah. And he's right.
He was right. He made the right decision. Again, that degree in behavioural psychology came into play.
Exactly. And without that, I don't think he would have had that same mindset.
No, he wouldn't have. Okay, my other favourite scene was, when he's gearing up to go for the last fight, when he's going to the warehouse. Back in them days, when you see all those gear up scenes, you see the main guy getting the bag of weapons out, he's loading guns and everything like that. He's not bringing guns to the table. He's definitely, as that saying goes, I'm taking a knife to a gunfight. He's like getting those 2 knives, and he's got the 2 screamer sticks, and then he's like,
I love that scene.
And he's like hitting the bars, and he's hitting that sofa, and he's tearing up. You can tell Jeff Speakman was or is a legitimate martial artist. He's not an actor trying to do martial arts. He's a martial artist and actor in one. But actor first, I would say. Definitely in this movie. And then when you see, and then another one, and one more favourite scene, I would say.
One more favourite scene.
My definitely scene was the kata, because I've got a funny story to tell you about.
That's the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, when he's doing the kata, when I was watching the interview with him, the interviewer Scott Adkins said to him, "I've got the most important question to ask you, Mr. Speakman. Probably the most important question of the day." He goes, "What is it?" He goes, "The song 'I Have the Power' by Snap. How much do you hate that song right now?" They just burst out laughing, both of them. And then he goes to him, "You're the only person who's ever asked me that question, so you get the award of being the only person asking me that question." He goes, "I bet that song's followed you for the rest of your life, and people think you like it, but you probably don't like it, do you?" He goes, "No, I really, not anymore." And he goes, when you walk into
you do hear it a few times, don't you? You do hear it a few times in the film.
He goes, when you walk into the room, did they put the music on to introduce you that way? Which is quite funny.
That film, that song was playing out all through the beginning.
Yeah, for most of the beginning.
Yeah, you just think...
It was a good song, it was classic.
It was. But I can see why he hates it.
Because everywhere he's turning, it's like, they're playing this one. It's like, I wouldn't say it's the same way Stallone would say the fact that, oh, I don't like hearing the gun a fly now track, the Rocky track, because obviously Rocky made him what he was.
You can't get bored of that song.
Oh, no chance, no chance. All right, one favourite quote I like about this, you know, when he says to that guy, when he goes into the dojo, and he goes, I wonder if you can help me, I'm looking for a guy, he's about 5'8", 160 pounds, he's good in Taekwondo, he's got a tattoo of a spider head, do you know if I can help him? He goes, go home before you get hurt. He goes, I wonder if I can kick your ass, not you, all three of you. And he goes, you serious? Yeah, are you? He goes, but he doesn't say very aggressively. He goes, yeah, I am serious. Are you?
And he goes, full contact him, man.
No protection. You're on. No problem.
You're on. You can nearly gets his ass kicked at one point, but the way he comes back, man.
Those knife hands.
Oh
was my
man,
favorite scene.
It's just.
It was the knife hands he was doing. Like, oh, bam, 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 bam. And that's James Liu, he's a very renowned world martial artist who he was hitting in that scene. The first guy who he fights. My other favorite fight scene in that was, you know, in the nightclub when he goes to get information.
Yeah, that's a brilliant scene.
And then the scene when he goes, "Who killed Kim?" and the guy tells him to get lost, and he's like slapping him like that non-stop. And he goes, "Who killed him?" And one good quote is when he says, when Jimmy goes, "Young told me that you killed Kim." He goes, "No, everybody knows Young killed Kim, Dick." Tracy. That's what he says. He sits back down and goes, but if you look at it, Jimmy is the young version of Jeff. They both lost their mother. He goes, so we got something in common.
And it's the anger issues, right?
Yeah, and he goes, we've got something in common.
That's said as well.
Huh?
Said he lost his parents, didn't he?
Yeah, and like Kim was like the only thing to her father, to both of them too. But you know, that scene worked. The respect factor was there between them two, and it was that's what made this movie one of the best.
Well,
oh yeah, definitely. Good team. This is what made one of the best movies ever in martial arts, I would say. So on a score of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would give it 7.5.
I'd give it a 9.
Oh wow!
Because I just loved it because it was something completely different that we had never seen before.
Both high scores.
Definitely.
Better than Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Well, that wasn't odd. Right. So
Beverly Hills Cop 4's on its way.
I hope it's a lot better.
I don't think they need one, but never mind. Hey, enough of that. Doesn't matter about that film.
Yeah, but like I say, hopefully it'll be a lot better than the previous one. That shouldn't be hard, should it? Nope. No, it shouldn't. So well, that's all the time we have for today's podcast. Next week we're looking at going back into a TV series.
Okay.
Before we jump into the new saga that we've already got planned.
Yep. Cool.
And so we're going to do a great 80s TV series, which kind of made people fall in love with vehicles. I would say definitely. You know which one? Okay, we'll do rock paper scissors. Oh, that's two. No, forget rock paper scissors. We'll know what we're going to do.
Okay.
Or unless we get the viewers on Instagram to decide what they want us to talk about.
Yes, you do that. Let us know what you want us to watch. We're going to give them
review.
We're going to give them a choice.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Okay, so what's the choice? What are the choices?
Knight Rider or Airwolf.
Okay,
so you have a high-tech helicopter with jet engines,
or an awesome car
with artificial intelligence that talks and drives by itself.
So comment your choice.
Yes.
In the comment section, obviously.
Yeah.
Let us know, and then we will see what happens after that.
Definitely, yeah.
Get it done, and then we will do that, whichever has the most votes. Now's your time to shine, people.
Indeed. Okay, so well, like I said, that is all the time we have for today. Aidan, thank you very much for coming.
As always, a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Don't forget to follow us on all forms of social media as well. And thank you again for everybody's support. If you made it to the end of the podcast, give it a thumbs up. Also,
forgot about YouTube.
And YouTube,
like, subscribe, get notified, and then obviously you will know when we are dropping fresh podcasts all the time. So without that notification bell, you don't know that we've actually done a new one, which is quite ridiculous, but never mind.
Yeah, that is true.
You would have thought a subscription would be good enough, but you've got to click that bell as well.
Of course. So as we always mentioned, the 80s rocked.
They do rock.
Yeah.
What this guy said.
What this guy agreed with. This is Addy.
And this is Aidan.
Out.
Take care.